Here, I want you to say that again. One more time. One more time.
The Bubba Bunch formation will now include Amari Cooper,
Mm.
Michael Gallup,
Mm.
C.D. Lamb.
Mm. Mm. Oh man.
It's the boy, Bubba, let's coming through. Hella clutch, flawless, can't be touched. It's your boy, Bubba, let's. Yeah, I need that hot take. I need the truth and everything that is not fake. So tell me.
Welcome back, Bubba Bunch, to another episode of the Bubba Lut Sports Podcast. This is episode 158, joined by, once again, Kevin Rios.
Yes,
New
sir.
podcast in the works between the both of us. Keep that in mind.
Sir.
But, Kevin,
Sir.
go ahead and plug yourself.
Yeah, so there's this Twitter account that I personally think you should follow, but you should follow at Cryptic ESP. Let's all have it at the bottom or whatever he wants to do, and then yeah, you better.
I guess I'm doing that now.
And then from there, you guys can just follow my account, and then I'll probably send you the link or whatever.
I will get that link, sir.
I'll send you the link because a little extra foreshadowing. The next episode on my podcast happens to be a very familiar face.
Yes.
Yes.
I think I know who that is.
Oh.
It's a handsome man, too.
He actually is very handsome, believe it or not.
Stop. But yes, and make sure to spell cryptic with 2 eyes.
2 eyes. It has to be 2 eyes.
It has to be 2 eyes.
Let's firsthand saw why I put the 2 eyes.
Bro,
yesterday.
I saw 10 accounts with cryptic
Yes.
esports, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like the first 5, they came up, and I was like, these are gameplays of like League of Legends. I was like, this is confusing. Like this is not it.
That's exactly why I did the extra eye, because I went on YouTube personally myself and I saw it and I was like, oh yeah, let's put the 2 eyes.
Yeah, those are important. But go ahead and subscribe to that YouTube channel. And
Appreciate the support.
Is it also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that good shit?
In the works.
In the works. Okay. In the
Yes.
works. Let me move this camera. Yeah. But anyways, thank you for joining us, whether you're watching this on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Podcasts or. All right, I'm just gonna stop that because I can go on for days. But we have reached over 800 listens through all those platforms. We are at 84 subscribers on YouTube, so inching closer and closer. And we're doing really well. I love the episode. If you haven't checked it out last week with the voice of the El Paso Chihuahuas, Fear the Ears, baby. Tim Haggerty, he joined us last week. Probably the biggest celebrity we've had on the podcast. But if you haven't checked that out, that thing's doing really well. And I had so much fun recording that. So go check that out. But the reason why we're here today, we're going to have some episodes this week with Kevin. I just kind of wanted to, update. We haven't talked about the Cowboys in a couple weeks.
A little quick update. Yeah.
A little quick update. They just had the scrimmage, the blue and white scrimmage yesterday. Some
I saw
injuries
that.
have occurred. Good news, bad news. Some training camp news, like some guys that are really standing out, which I'm actually impressed by, and some guys that some news that I actually was really shocked by. So we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about some news that came out today in the NFL, and we're less than 2 weeks away.
2 weeks away, man.
From the
Thank God.
NFL, and
Thank God.
that Chiefs and Texans game is going to be phenomenal.
It really is.
On Thursday night. So we're getting pumped up. Like this is the time last year where I really dedicated myself to the podcast, and I went extremely hard on doing analysis for the Cowboys. So expect much of the same this year. And now that we have YouTube, now that we have video, dude, like you get to see my analysis on plays. You get to see the Bubba Bunch formation live.
Ooh, yes, sir.
Oh. You know that Tim asked me, he's like, the Bubba Bunch. And I was like, I explained the story to him. I was like, the Cowboys had the bunch formation. I started calling it the Bubba Bunch. The rest is history, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, from what it's looking like, the Bubba Bunch will, or the Bubba Bunch formation will include Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and C.D. Lamb.
Ooh.
That is
Oh,
That is
here.
nice.
I want you to say that again. One more time. One more time.
The Bubba Bunch formation will now include Amari Cooper,
Mm.
Michael Gallup,
Mm.
C.D. Lamb.
Mm. Mm. Oh
Mm.
man. Oh my God. I've been talking about this with a lot of like friends, and I am so excited to see how good this Cowboy offense can be this year. Just like and you know, it's not even just the fact that we have, you know, probably the one of the best wide receiver trios in the NFL, but just the fact that, you know, Blake Jarwin is finally going to be able to show himself.
Mm-hmm.
We know he's going to pop off. You know, Dak has weapons all over the field. He has a good line. You know, maybe your prediction will come true about Connor McGovern. You never know.
I
We'll
want
see
it.
what
I
happens.
need
See what
it.
happens. You know, Zeke's coming back. Zeke's looking good. Our defense is looking solid. Not rest in peace, but you know, rest in peace to the thought of Gerald McCoy. But you know, it is what it is.
Damn.
Our defense still looking good. Oh, gonna be a good year, hopefully. Hopefully.
Look, I am super high on this guy, and from all the analysis and analysts on Twitter for the Cowboys that keep talking about how impressive he's been ever since he's entered training camp. But number 4 on the Cowboys depth chart for the wide receivers,
Oh,
Cedric Wilson.
ooh,
I
no.
am so high on Cedric Wilson ever since he came out of Boise State.
Both of us are high on him. We've had this conversation, I
Yeah.
think, a couple episodes ago, including me, that we both think that Cedric Wilson can be a really good asset on this team. Just man, it's got to stay healthy.
The initial season in the NFL, he did have a season-ending injury, which I was devastated by because that's when the Cowboys really needed a core. They couldn't just rely on like Cole Beasley or Terrence Williams at that
Mm,
time, and I thought that in a period to where it was kind of post Dez, you kind of have to move on. I thought
yeah,
Cedric Wilson would have been a great guy that you can get one-on-one on a really good matchup with like a second or third corner, and
yeah.
he can make some big plays. And the Cowboys love Boise State guys.
Oh,
There's
for
just
sure.
something about being a Bronco that the Cowboys just relate to and can
Mhm.
really get a connection with. Same thing with DeMarcus Lawrence, Tyron Crawford, Darian Thompson as well.
Yeah,
On the defensive side, I've heard really good things coming out of training camp from him. He's also from Boise State. But if
mm,
he can stay healthy, man, as a fourth option, that man can really do work. And
yeah.
it's not just the matter of having depth, but also the ability to where even if Amari Cooper does have those concerns of his foot injuries, his hamstrings, his quads,
Yeah.
like if he goes out or he's a liability, which was the case last year in some parts of the season,
Mm,
then you could put Michael Gallup, who is, in my opinion, the number 1 receiver on this team. I'm just gonna
mm,
say it, like he will be number 1 come January or February for this team. Number 1, Michael Gallup, C.D. Lamb second, Blake Jarwin will probably be the third option there, and then you have Cedric Wilson, and if the Cowboys want to have a 5th receiver on the depth chart, you have Noah Brown, who is
mhm.
just a nice little addition, who's been with the team for a couple years now, and I
Yeah.
think that core is just, I mean, that's impressive, man. But I am stupidly high on Cedric Wilson to do really well for the Cowboys this season.
I think Cedric Wilson has just been a bottle of untapped potential. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you know, ever since he came out of college, there were just those reports saying how, you know, he's so fast, he learns quick. You know, his route running is pretty damn good. You know, it's not perfect. It's a rookie, you know, like you don't expect perfection out of a rookie. But I remember reading all those reports, and I'll never forget when the report came out that he like tore his Achilles or something like that, or
I think it was
some
his ACL,
the ACL. Okay,
something
or
in
his
his
knee
knee.
ACL. And I was devastated because I remember seeing his highlights and just seeing that analysis of how good he was, and you know how good he was looking in training camp back in like what 2017, 2018
Mm-hmm.
when he was drafted. Man, but listen, I mean, he looks good now. Again, I'm just hoping he can stay healthy because I agree with you. You know, Amari Cooper. I wouldn't say Amari Cooper is a liability, but I would say that there is some worry. about his health issues when it comes to his thigh or his hamstring. And we saw it where I was listening to the fantasy footballers. Shout out to them, great podcast. They were talking about how Amari Cooper was basically, for like a large majority of the end of the season, he was just out there as a decoy.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's all he was. And it's weird to have an extremely good receiver out there just using a decoy, but it's what it was. And I agree with you that if we have Cedric Wilson back, Michael Gallup could be that number one. Lamb can be the number two. We could put Cedric at third. Blake Jarwin will be another top receiver, like we were saying, because there's a lot of analysis and a lot of people that are high on Blake Jarwin this season that he's going to explode, and I think he will. So I do think that the Cedric Wilson addition could be really good for this offense, like you said, not just because of depth, but just because he has the talent. He has the pure talent.
He does. He really does. I mean, speaking of the Boise State Broncos, some other big news that was coming out of training camp is the fact that Darian Thompson, who we just talked about, might have the starting job at safety.
And over Xavier, really? I did not hear that.
Well, Xavier got injured in the scrimmage yesterday. Not in the scrimmage, the drills before the scrimmage.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, we don't know the severity of him yet. Ventel Bryant as well, one of the special teams guys who is adored by a lot of like diehard Cowboys fans because he could be a receiver, but he does a lot of great things on special teams. He'll do a lot better this season. Good news out of that. I think it was his foot injury, but nothing says a tear or anything like that, which is nice. But for Xavier Woods, we don't know yet, but Darian Thompson is impressing a lot of people in training camp. So that leaves Clinton-Dix as non-starter safety for the Cowboys, which actually shocked me because I'm actually like impressed by a lot of the work he's done in Green Bay, in Chicago, and that's one of the big reasons why I was so happy to get him in free agency was because I know he was an immediate starter. But apparently there's a lot of talk about how the loss of Jeff Heath is apparent, and I'm like, all right, let's calm it down here. Like anything is an improvement from Jeff Heath. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but there was a lot of holes in his game, and of course the size was the biggest thing of all. So I thought bringing in a veteran like Clinton-Dix was going to be an immediate change, and I thought it was an easy start for him. But I'm happy for Darian Thompson. Like he got some playing time last year, but he was just kind of thrown into the wolves. Like he wasn't given time to be a first team guy, and they were just putting him out there. And Xavier Woods got most of those that playing time at that position. But even then, like with a defensive coordinator that didn't know what to do and didn't disguise anything, you're gonna leave them out for their weaknesses instead of their strengths. But with Al Harris, Lindquist, like these coaches are doing a phenomenal job with them already. I think you're starting to see a lot of these guys come out and say like, hey, we can finally kind of express ourselves. Like we're focusing on our strengths, not just we're fitting into a system. We're going to be a system, but every little piece of the pie is our little like love put into it, our little, strengths of the game.
It's a system made out of player strengths, the way it should be.
That's how it should be, yeah. So I think guys like Darian Thompson or Jordan Lewis, Chidobe Awuzie, like they can finally show off what they were doing in college and why they were picked in the first place, rather than saying, oh, these are good players, let's see if they fit in our system, which is the stupidest way of doing it. Like, why do you pick those players if they're not good fits for what you need to do, not just what you want to do? So, I mean, Clinton-Dix being on the bench and, getting second team reps, maybe that's a good thing because then you have some reliability at the second option. But, I mean, Xavier Woods, Darian Thompson, that might be the starting lineup. And I don't know how to feel about that. I don't.
Yeah, neither do I, actually. I didn't know that.
I don't know what's to come of that. But, honestly, if you're seeing good things out of them, I like Xavier Woods. I like him a lot.
I like him too.
Darian Thompson, you can never go wrong with Boise State Bronco. And there's a reason why these guys were picked by the Cowboys. They saw something in them, and from what I've seen, they're not a liability. Like, the only guy I really feel that does that is Anthony Brown. And even then, I've heard some pretty good things coming out of training camp through Anthony Brown.
Yeah.
So it feels like the Cowboys never really answered that question in the secondary of, like, well, with the whole Earl Thomas talk, and it's probably not going to happen. But
it more than likely will not happen.
And I'm okay with that. Like,
yeah,
it's, the reports of him getting into arguments and not getting along with any of the teammates in Baltimore. It may be a thing to where he just didn't want to be there. He wanted to be in Dallas, and he might change his ways if he comes here. That's something, but at the end of the day, he is, kind of past his prime. He is getting up there in age, and he does want a good amount of money. So maybe it is the best thing for the Cowboys to keep it in home and to go with what they have now. And it doesn't look like it's a disaster in the secondary.
I think the whole prospect of getting Earl Thomas has been the past, 2-3 years when it comes to he's coming out of free agency. We could possibly get him. I've always been on the train of getting someone like Earl Thomas. I was on the train of getting Jamal Adams, but then I saw what Seattle paid for him, and thank God we didn't get him. Jesus Christ. But I do agree with you that I feel Earl Thomas is getting to that point in his career where he is past his prime. He is still obviously a very good safety. Let's make these clear, But I think Earl Thomas is somewhat becoming a player that he is more sought out because of his veteran leadership. He's a very strong-willed player. He led the best defense in the NFL in the recent decade for 4 or 5 years. He was a part of it, So having that experience, having that mentorship, having that leadership, having that grit in him, because the Mans can play. All right, he's a ball hog. Well, he was a ball hog back in the day. He was a player. He still is, like I said, but he's getting up there. So, I don't think it will happen. But in regards to the whole homegrown thing that you were talking about, look, I personally have never really focused a lot on Darian Thompson. I know you have. You have been in love with Darian Thompson ever since he joined the Cowboys. So, I'm going to take your word for it. But what I am a little worried about is the fact that we never gave Clinton-Dix a big contract. So it doesn't bother me that he's on the bench.
Right.
However, in this certain scenario, if Darian Thompson is really outshining Clinton-Dix, okay, that's fine with me. But I do have, and I guess this might be the risk aversion part of myself when it comes to a lot of things in life. But I don't know if I could fully agree with this move. One, he's very unproven, Darian Thompson. He's never stepped foot on the field as a starter. He's in there for a couple plays, and that's it. Now, you could argue with the fact that, it's a very small sample size. Like you said, the whole defensive system is changing, so it might fit in his favor. And great. If he can prove me wrong, thank God he proved me wrong, But I think when it comes to this point, I don't really know if I could be comfortable with Clinton-Dix sitting on the bench. I think Clinton-Dix should be starting over Darian Thompson. If Clinton-Dix is, becoming a problem and, obviously he's not working out, okay, bring him in. What the hell do you have to lose, I just don't think right now is the time to be experimenting when, like we've had previous conversations, this season is really do or die, especially because of the amount of talent we have. So I really don't think this season should be experimenting for the Cowboys. That's just my personal opinion. And like I said, I hope he proves me wrong. Really, I hope he does. If he proves me wrong, good for you, man. I mean, I'm a nobody. I'm just giving my 2 cents. But yeah, I don't think this is the right move, personally.
Well, I mean, it's hard because you're going to a season where you have no preseason to work with. Like, you don't have time to kind of test them in the way of putting them in game. Like the only way you could really do is the scrimmages, and even then, like they're not going 100%. But you don't have preseason to say, all right, take what you learned, take what we gave you, and
put it out there
and flourish on the field. Like you're not gonna go against Tom Brady, you're not gonna go against the best of the best, but it's a whole different story when you go from Frisco in the Star. Not my mic, but it's a whole different story when you're playing against the Rams. It's a whole different story when you're playing the Texans. Like you're playing against a different system, so you get to utilize what you learned and really put that into effect. So having no preseason, it's not just going to hurt the Cowboys, it's going to hurt all these teams.
Of course.
I'm going to think optimistically in this aspect because for the first time really in a long time, I feel like the Cowboys have options to work with. So it could be in the very beginning, Darian Thompson looks really good. If Xavier Woods can stay healthy and it's nothing serious, and we'll see what he does. But then, if HaHa Clinton-Dix kind of figures it out, kind of gets that learning curve done, then he'll flourish later on in the season. I mean, this is a new coaching staff for all these players, so it may take some time. Some take longer than others, but it's still the beginning of the season. Like we still don't know, and until you get on the field against the Rams, against the Seahawks after the first couple weeks, then that's when you're really gonna figure out, oh, okay, maybe HaHa is the better option because maybe he's just not a good practice player, but he's better on the field. He shows up on Sunday, so we'll figure that out when it comes time to it. As long as you get it done in the division. Like they have a period of time to where they can get away with some wins outside of that division, and then they play like Washington and the Giants first before they go against the Eagles. So it's really the Eagles you got to worry about. You have time. You definitely have time. So you can use those preseason games in the first couple weeks to really get it done. So I think that's good for the Cowboys, but that is very interesting to me. When I saw that news, I was like, wow, like
I mean
it's a good and bad thing. It's like I was expecting a lot more out of HaHa, and I wasn't expecting that much out of Darian Thompson. I thought we moved away from Darian Thompson, but with this new coaching staff, it kind of opens up the possibilities for all these different players. It kind of gives you more hope for all of them.
Yeah, man. I mean, like I said, you never know. I mean, he could 100% go out there and prove me wrong, and he could be he could be our next starting safety for the next couple of years if he really is that good. It's just like I said, like it's just the risk aversion part of me that I really don't think we should be gambling with stuff like that. But who knows? Different coaching staff, different system. You can never know.
You want to talk about a gamble? And not even really a gamble, but just kind of like, let's just give this guy a shot in the draft, and looks pretty damn good in practice. Bradley and I.
What was I saying?
I will be honest. I was saying I was not really into Bradley as far as a starter or as a big key to this defense. I didn't really think he would make the starting roster, and we still don't know yet. But from what I hear and what I've seen in practice, this man is actually proving himself every single day. And I love that. I think the idea of you're not getting your star until you earn it, until you prove it, is a very nice thing. That's something that Jason Garrett obviously did. But for now, it's Mike McCarthy. Kevin, are you still there? We finally figured it out. We had some internet issues. But,
sorry, we're good now.
Like we were saying, Bradley and I has really impressed in practice, and but like I was saying, the whole earn the star thing that started with Jason Garrett, and has still transferred over to Mike McCarthy in a different way,
in a better way.
In a better way for sure. It's guys like Bradley that you do that for, like guys that really don't have expectations, that really don't have to impress a lot of people because they have so much high expectations. Like, you gotta prove yourself. It's like, no, let's just see what this kid's got. And for a guy to do it like that, he's proven that he can transfer it over to the pros, because he does the exact same thing in college, what he did at Utah. And when people are just like he's catching their eye, like it's very nice to see for a guy that's trying to play at that position. You have the the opening of that position. Now with Gerald McCoy out, try to figure out what you have and what you can move over. And the whole question about Randy Gregory, or if you're just going to go with what you have with Aldon Smith, it now opens up the possibility of, like, maybe he's just the wild card. Maybe we just maybe he's a Kerry Hyder. He's the next Kerry Hyder for this Cowboys team. And I thought Kerry Hyder was so underrated for so many years of, like, you know, when DeMarcus Lawrence isn't on the field, we're okay. Like, he's going to bring the tenacity and that effort every single play. And I see that in Anai. So he can be the next kind of version of Kerry Hyder, who has now left. But probably in a better way. Maybe from what I've seen in film and what I see him do at Utah, man, like I'm impressed by this kid for his size. I say kid, but he's fucking like my age or like older. But I'm super impressed by him. Like, he's gone up against some of the best in the country. He went up against the lineman from USC. I forgot his name. I can't remember his name. I'm sorry, but he did very well against big competition. The size is the only issue I had. Like, we've talked about this before. The size for being an edge rusher is not ideal for him. But I love a guy that, you know, goes to the last whistle. Like, he will go 110% in every play, and that's what I see in him. So if he makes the team, there's a good reason why. It's not just a fluke. He's doing it for the right reasons, and he's doing it the right way. So I think he's one of Mike McCarthy's favorites right now of, like, impressing him. So, I mean, I'm rooting for him. I just didn't expect anything coming out of Bradley.
I know you didn't. And I remember we had this conversation. I think it was the episode after we broke down the Cowboys draft position.
Yeah.
I remember I was the one that was saying that I really think we stole Anai from the NFL. I remember watching his film. I remember reading a bunch of analysis on him, and there was a bunch of high profile talk about how Bradley Anai was the steal of, like, the draft in that 6th round, you know? And man, I remember I made a very, very bold statement in that episode, and I said that he is probably good enough and he has the grit enough to maybe become a starter. I said that. Now, obviously, I was, you know, giving my boy some props and I was, you know, giving him some gas. But hey, man, look at it now. He's obviously catching the eye of Mike McCarthy. All this talk was not, you know, it wasn't wrong. So I remember that since day one, I've been on his side, and I was the one that was saying that he looks really good. And, you know, we both agree that he is small. He is a smaller guy. But listen, from day one, when I found out that we drafted him and I did a little bit of research on him, I was instantly hyped for what he could bring. And I guess he's showing it, and it's working.
Yeah, that film was really nice to watch. It's the fundamentals and the IQ is there, which I appreciate so much at that position. So, you know, it's nice to see. And when I really think about it, I was just looking up the draft class for the Cowboys. Like, there's maybe one or two names where I'm like, I haven't heard much of them, or maybe they're just not really meant to show off in their first season in the NFL. Maybe they just need time, and I kind of expect that out of some of these guys. You know, CeeDee Lamb, of course, like, everyone's going to give him the attention.
CeeDee Lamb, yeah.
He's number 88. He's going to get the attention. And from all these catches and the route running that he's done, from what I've seen on Twitter, man, like, he's doing work. And he's doing
some work.
I love it. I love it. You can't go wrong with CeeDee Lamb. And he looks good in the Cowboys uniform. Cornerback Trevon Diggs.
I've seen so many plays.
Very good.
Crazy.
Very good. I mean, it sucks because, you know, when you have Cowboys analysts on Twitter or on NFL Network, on Fox, whatever the case may be, you know, they're always going to focus on the positive. They're always going to focus on getting attention on the team, getting that good publicity. So it's kind of like, it's a slippery slope, thinking of like, oh, how good are they actually doing, rather than them trying to get the attention and the listens, the views, and the reads on their stuff, when really, like, they're doing okay, but everyone's just hyping it up. I want to make sure that, like, that it makes sense, right? So when I see CeeDee Lamb doing really well, does it make sense? Is it logical? I'm going to say yes, of course it does. Trevon Diggs, who came from a really good program out of Alabama and has the capability of being a pro-ready cornerback, and they're telling me that, oh, he's gotten a lot of interceptions in scrimmages, in practice, and he's kept up pretty well with the wide receivers. I'll be like, that makes a lot of sense. You know, I see that in film. He's kept up with Jamar Chase, who is the best wide receiver coming out of next year.
Agreed,
and,
100%.
And he's keeping up with CeeDee Lamb. He's keeping up with Amari Cooper. This guy could be the number one cornerback for the Dallas Cowboys. I believe that myself even before the training camp started. But now that I'm seeing it in action, I'm seeing these analysts saying, like, that man's got something. He's special. I'll be like, thank God. Like, I see it a lot in Trevon Diggs.
I remember this whole entire week, I was just seeing nothing but clips of Trevon Diggs, you know, breaking up passes, you know, getting interceptions. It was impressive. It's impressive to see. And, you know, like you said, there is that bias where, you know, they show them only the positives. But for there to be that many positives, I think proves a point.
It's got to mean something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Did you hear what Jerry Jones said about him?
No. What did he say?
He said that he wants the ball more than the wide receivers do. And I'm like, if that's the case, I'm all for it, baby.
I'm all for it. Hell yeah.
You know what the Cowboys need? It's one word. It's turnovers. It's turnovers. That's what they need.
We talked about this last podcast, and I think I showed a little heated side of myself talking about that, because the stats that the Cowboys have when it comes to defense and how many turnovers they've gotten in the past 3 years, it's embarrassing. It's really embarrassing. I think like in the past 3 years, the number of turnovers the Cowboys have had equals like what the Bears have had in one season, or like half the game. I mean,
half the season. I was like, what the Chicago Bears do? Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I mean, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. There's no way that the Cowboys only had like 8 or 9 turnovers last year, like maybe like 10 or something like that.
Their first interception came against the Bears, I believe.
That was like week.
Yeah, that 13. Was midway through the season. It was Jordan Lewis. That's the only reason why. It was Jordan Lewis, because he came in and he's more of a turnover type of guy.
Dude, listen,
it may have not been the first interception, but the first one in a very long time. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But that Bears game, like they got some turnovers, which of course they didn't do anything with it. But I was like, man, that's what we needed this entire time. And Jordan Lewis finally gets to start, and guess what? We get turnovers. Wow, who would have thunk it?
We need turnovers. So for us to be hearing that Trevon Diggs is acting like a wide receiver with all that talk, I'm for it.
Yes.
I'm all for it. Thank God. So, you know what? It makes me really happy because we both agreed that this Cowboys draft class is probably the best draft class we had in a very, very long time.
I was looking at it, and I was like, you know, when's the last time that like most of those draft picks really worked out?
It really hasn't been anywhere close.
Even I thought the season with Lane Vander Esch, when they picked him first, 17, I thought that was a really good draft class. And then I kept going back. I'm like, okay. I mean, there's the really good players that come out of it, and then there's like oh no, that didn't work out at all. But this season's pretty good. We just talked about Anai. Ben DiNucci, he's going to be the third quarterback if he is on the roster.
Reggie Robinson has not been heard from.
I haven't heard anything about Reggie Robinson.
Yeah, so that's a little worrisome. I mean, he's a 4th-round corner. I mean, we understand, but still,
watching
it'd be
film,
nice to hear something.
I was like, there wasn't much film on him, but the expectation and the news coming out of college was he's a system guy. You know, you need the right system for him. He's not going to explode off the stat sheet. So if you fit him in, he'll fit in. Like that's just how it is, and I kind of expect that. So I wouldn't hear too much about him. Tyler Biadasz, good things. You know, I think Joe Looney is a natural born leader, and everybody loves him.
Oh yeah, everybody loves Joe Looney for sure.
I love him so much. So I expect him to be a starter. I always thought that ever since Travis Frederick left. But Biadasz has done very well. The only other one where I'm like, it will take some time, so it's not shocking me at this point. But Neville Gallimore,
Yeah.
No one's really saying he's bad. He's really good. He's just kind of there for now. But you got to think about it with what's going on after Gerald McCoy and all those guys that are fighting for that top position. Don Terry Poe is going to be one of those guys. Now it's down to Antoine Woods. Then it's down to Tyron Crawford.
Antoine Woods is my boy. You know that.
I love
I love
Antoine Woods. I think he will get the start.
Mm-hmm.
But then Tristan Hill, kind of like a roller coaster of news for Tristan Hill, because the whole thing about Everson Griffin, like the number thing where he's like, why did you give up the number 97, to Griffin? And then like there's that that press conference where Tristan Hill's like, there's nothing much to it. Like he just looks like a really like saddened guy. Like he's just pissed off for some reason. But at the beginning, they're saying like, look, with this new coaching staff, they're actually seeing some improvement in the attitude and the character of Tristan Hill, because that was one of the big issues. He would fall asleep in meetings last year, and his play on the field was subpar compared to what he did at UCF.
Extremely subpar. Jesus
Extremely,
Christ.
yes. So they saw some good things off the field that led to on the field improvement.
Yeah.
So we don't know yet. I'm kind of up in the air about Tristan Hill. I wasn't high on him from the very beginning. They do have security and safety at those positions.
Yeah, they really do.
I would like to see a competition at that point. But for Neville, I've always been a guy on him where I say in past podcasts where I say he may not get it immediately. There is some time to really transition to the NFL, especially coming out of Oklahoma that doesn't really focus on defense. He is a born athlete. He's a freak of nature with quick feet and a big body.
Bro, he is a big boy.
That's a big boy. He's
big
Oklahoma
boy.
grown, basically.
Yeah.
And he has the prototype of a inside tackle. It's just got to take some time because he's got to learn the system. He doesn't really know everything about that position yet. So I say he can be a fan favorite for the Cowboys in 2 to 3 years. I think in 2 or 3 years, once we go past Gerald McCoy, once we go past Don Terry Poe and Tristan Hill doesn't work out, we're at the point of Crawford and Woods kind of moving on from that. Neville Gallimore will come in and say, this is my team now. This is my defense that I can take care of, and everybody will be afraid of him on the inside.
Look, man, when we drafted him, we did that draft analysis, and we both agreed after we saw that film that this guy is something special. My man was flinging around those linemen that he was pairing up against. It was insane. Like you said, he is a freak of nature. The man is something else. I just hope that, like you said, he can find his way into the new system that the Cowboys have. And, it'll help him for sure because this new system would be focusing on his strengths.
Yes, for sure.
So I'm excited, man. Look, this whole entire draft is looking really good. Like we talked about Reggie Robinson, I mean, it's whatever. I mean, it was expected.
Yeah.
But, this draft in general, man, it's really exciting. I love everything I'm hearing. It just makes me feel so much better about the Cowboys this season than I have in a long time, really, in a very long time. And I can't wait. I just can't wait for the season to start, man. I'm so over not having football on Sundays.
I mean, for now, my schedule at work is going to be during the week, but I will make sure that once I get back fully into working, that I'm going to ask for Sundays off. There is no way that I am working this season, because last year I missed so much football.
Same, so did I.
It was so sad for me to work on Sundays and then just to see the score. I remember the Jaguars game when they just obliterated them. It wasn't even close. And I was shocked, and I just wanted to see them play because I saw Dak had like 4 touchdowns, and I'm like, I just want to feel happy. I just want to see them instead of just being like saddened and seeing people come in with Cowboys gear and be like, did you watch the game? I'm like, no, I'm working. I can't hide in the break room and try to watch it. But I cannot go this season without watching football on Sundays. the last thing. Well. By the way, while you were mentioning about the draft class, I went back and looked at the 2018 one just because I was like, who was fully on that? So Lane Vander Esch was 19th overall, dub, like just great pick.
Obviously, yes.
Second round, Connor Williams. Okay, he had some years where he did his part. He had a lot of promise, so I was fine with that. And
I love that pick personally.
it was a good pick for that time. You know, they needed an offensive lineman, they needed a guard. So that's a win in my book. You just wish it would have been a lot better. Third round, my boy Michael Gallup. Hey, this man out of Colorado State, this man was just something. I was high on him. Another guy I was just in love with after watching film and watching his play. Out of Kansas, defensive end Dorrance Armstrong, who, by the way,
I remember him.
is still on the roster, and he's still, in my opinion, one of the most like gifted athletes on this roster. And when I see him on the field, I know his presence. I know what he can bring to the table. I just don't think he's been given the opportunity. I really don't think so. I think there's still a lot to do with Dorrance Armstrong. And they're talking about trade talks for him, you know, giving up him to another team to get some draft picks or some money. But I feel like, man, to have Everson Griffin, Alden Smith, Dorrance Armstrong, do you really need Randy Gregory? I really want to see Dorrance Armstrong succeed. It's the same way I felt about Taco before I started seeing like the issues like on his like personality and his attitude. So that's why they got rid of him. But like Dorrance just kind of there, and I don't feel like anybody's giving him enough credit because there's some plays last year where I'm like, dude, Dorrance can be a problem. And I'm so in love with him. Fourth round, Dalton Schultz, who is still a tight end.
Schultz, yeah.
Good blocking tight end, not really a big offensive presence, but alongside Blake Jarwin, I think they can do really good things together. Fifth round, Mike White, quarterback out of Western Kentucky. It was just kind of like, people put a lot of hype into that one. I was like, I don't care. Sixth round, Chris Covington, linebacker at Indiana, who I
team, isn't he?
I think he is, and I did like his film. I really do. He has good size, and that boy can tackle. I like him. Sixth round, our boy Cedric Wilson. Sixth round. That's impressive. And dude, one of the most regrettable things I saw the Cowboys do in previous years is not keep this guy on the roster. Seventh round running back. Do you know who it is?
Yes, Bo Scarborough, right?
Bo Scarborough.
Man, I was so sad when the Cowboys let him go because he could have been the answer to, you know, we've always had a good offensive line, and Zeke has always been able to punch the ball in from, like, you know, the 1 yard line. But it would be nice to be able to spare Zeke the possibility of getting hurt in a pile like that, and having a massive big boy running back in Bo Scarborough just plow through the line.
That's I imagined a DeMarco Murray and
Marion Barber, in my opinion.
No. Like how it was in Tennessee. It was Derrick Henry and DeMarco Murray. Like those two together, like they bring so many different elements to the table, but it's power and agility on the other side. So that's where I was like, if you bring the agility and power with Zeke, but then you bring the power with Bo, dear God, man. I was like, I am salivating at the idea of that. And then the Detroit Lions game last year where Bo played against the Cowboys, I was like, this is a good reason why you should have kept him, because he ran all over that Cowboys defense in the first half. They slowed him down the second, but that first half, you can go no wrong with Bo Scarborough. And I was like, they should have kept him. To be fair,
I was so sad when they let him go.
I was devastated. Next year, though, they got Tony Pollard, who I love even more.
Pollard. I'm so excited about Tony Pollard.
I want to see Tony Pollard just go off this season. I don't think anybody is ready for what Tony Pollard is about to do this season, because everybody loves him in the Cowboys organization. I loved him. And if they run a 2 running back set and they run Wildcat with him, Zeke, and CeeDee Lamb, dear God, I might just like plan my funeral because I'm going to die. Like
Yeah, man. Tony Pollard's super exciting.
It takes me
I can't
forever.
wait. Yeah, I can't wait.
well, we need some other stuff to talk about because we're like already like 40 minutes in. But
yeah,
Mike McCarthy is doing great things, and I'm super excited.
the point is that the Cowboys look exciting for like at least to this level of excitement in a long time. And thank God. Like I was saying before we went back to the draft topic, I'm just so excited about football. I can't wait. I'm hoping that this season doesn't get shortened. I'm hoping that the NFL can contain Corona. Apparently, they're doing really good. There hasn't been a lot of like cases that have been reported in a lot of camps, so that's a good sign. But I'm just really hoping it could stay throughout the season because I would not like to see the big players, opt out. So
Right? Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, you've had some big names have COVID, and they've announced that they were positive, like Matthew Stafford,
Zeke.
Zeke, a lot of other Cowboys players, I forgot the name.
Hell, even Sean Payton had Corona too.
Yeah, some big coaches, Doug Peterson as well.
Yeah.
Gardner Minshew is the guy I was thinking about. I forgot. How could I forget Minshew?
Minshew Magic.
Can't forget the mustache. But like that feels like such a long time ago. So I think the bad news as far as COVID in the NFL has gone, and even around the country, like there's some good news about COVID cases going down and hospitalizations. So it's on the right track, but we just got to continue it.
Yeah.
So
speaking of Minshew Magic, you wanna say the breaking news of the day, sir?
Nice little segue.
You like that little segue?
Nice
Yes,
pipes, Tamika.
Uh-huh.
Do you know that movie?
No.
School of Rock, sir. Jack Black.
Oh my God, I'm uncultured apparently.
Dude, I can quote that movie all day. But yes, Leonard Fournette.
Leonard Fournette.
Cut.
That honestly, that surprised me. That really did surprise me this morning.
That doesn't surprise me.
I didn't think they were going to do it this late. If they were to, there was a lot of talk about the Jaguars not really happy with the Leonard Fournette situation and vice versa. But for them to cut him 2 weeks before the season, that's what surprises me. I thought they would have either traded him or cut him like at least a couple weeks ago, maybe even a month ago. But 2 weeks before the season start, that's when you cut him?
Jaguars
surprised me. It surprised me.
Jaguars are in rebuilding mode, and I thought the Ngakoue trade was a huge indication of that.
Yeah, they got a second and a fourth, right?
I was like, Minnesota got him. How is that fair?
Yeah, it really isn't fair.
Like, shit, we couldn't keep Everson Griffin. Oh, we'll just get Ngakoue then.
Yeah.
Like, dude, come on,
Insane.
man. It's
Insane.
Man. It reminds me of the other Jaguars trade with who was it? To the Baltimore Ravens. It was Calais Campbell. They traded him away
yeah.
for a ham sandwich and a bus ticket.
Yeah.
And that's all it was. And somehow nobody talks about it, but Calais Campbell literally got traded for nothing.
Yeah, he really did.
And he went to an already stacked defense. So the Jaguars are just kind of rebuilding. They had a really phenomenal first-round pick in C.J. Henderson. That I felt like, okay, they're kind of rebuilding that defense that was built around Jalen Ramsey and A.J. Boye.
And you're forgetting their second first-round pick.
Their second first-round pick. I did forget their second first-round pick.
You did?
I did.
Le'Veon.
Calavon?
Yeah.
Oh, I did forget that.
You did. Yes, you did.
That might be a good reason. I mean, I've kind of lost my love for Chason. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is.
But stay there and say it was not a good pick for them, especially right now in rebuilding mode.
I mean, he's going to the Jaguars. Like, of course he's gonna strive there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can understand that. I don't think their worry is on defense. Like, I never thought their worry was defense. It has been the worry.
It's that offense.
It's that offense, man. Like I like Gardner Minshew, but I'm not saying he's a Pro Bowl quarterback. He's gonna be just enough. He's gonna be a Nick Foles, just a little bit above that because he can run more. But it's more of just that offensive line. They have really good wide receivers. I love their wide receivers.
DJ Chark has really emerged last season.
Chark
he was
is a
insane.
fantasy galore.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you really think about it, like the Jaguars have always been a really good fantasy wide receiver team. Like Allen Robinson,
Allen
Mercedes
Hearns back in the day.
Allen Hearns. Like these guys get it done in Jacksonville, but they just can't put it all together to balance that team out. It's more of just their focus on the defense. So, I mean, Leonard Fournette, and we'll get into what we were talking about before the podcast.
Oh yeah.
It sucks because I know he still has a lot to offer.
I agree.
It's just the injuries have just piled up to the point to where maybe it's just not worth it. And I can completely understand why the Jaguars just don't want to go with that because, he's been dealing with so many injuries. When he is healthy, he gets it done. He is so productive. And he is one of the best running backs in the league. We saw it in his first season. We saw it in glimpses last season. But the man can just not stay healthy.
Yeah, that chronic foot problem he has is really what's what set him back. And when he came out of LSU, that was one of the big problems that a lot of analysts were talking about him. Is that foot going to continue to be an issue? And obviously it has. His rookie season he balled out. In 18 he was really good. Last season he was still good. Like I mentioned to you in the time before we did the podcast, he ran for 1,100 yards and 500 receiving yards. That's pretty damn good. But why does it not translate to, the Jaguars front office being happy? Well, he had 4 games where he completely balled out last season, over 150 yards rushing. He had 2 games where he was like at 80, 90. And then after that, 40, 50, 60, 40, 50. Like the consistency level isn't there, And you can make an argument that having 6 great games in one season is okay for a running back, but when you were the number 4 overall pick in the 2017 NFL draft, the best running back on the board, which he was back then, the expectations are higher, and I think that like you said, cooped with the injuries. With just, it was hard. It was hard for him. And I'll bring it up now.
Now that you said he was the best running back.
Yeah. So this might hurt a little bit if you're a Jaguars fan. I don't think. Well, you never know. You never know who's a Jaguars fan. But let's take a look at what running backs the Jaguars passed on in that 2017 draft. So we have we had Leonard Fournette, number 4 overall. Then the 8th pick, run CMC, Christian McCaffrey, who is by far the best running back in the league, in my opinion.
Too small though. He was too small.
He was too small. That was the problem.
Plus he's white.
He was too small. He was too small, and at least in my opinion, and I will eat my words now, I stand corrected. My issue was that he went to the wrong team. I did not think that Carolina was a good team for him, but they did what a lot of teams should be doing with star players and work around him. And they did it, and it works, obviously. So credits to the Panthers. But back in the day, yes, too small, not right system.
White boys can't play.
With pick 41, in the second round, hey, Lutz, you know about this guy named Dalvin Cook? Dalvin Cook? Now we both understand that he is, injury plagued. But when he's going, my man is unstoppable. That man, in my opinion, owns the Vikings. Not Kirk Cousins.
He is the reason why they win football games.
He is the Vikings. And doesn't get any better, Lutz. 7 picks later, Joe Mixon. Now, everybody knows that Joe Mixon should have been a first-round pick, but it's his fault because of the trouble he got in.
Yes.
But still, Joe Mixon, extremely underrated running back.
Super
Why?
productive.
Why is he underrated? Why?
Because he plays for a team that doesn't do anything for him.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh.
he has
Oh.
no offensive line
Uh-huh.
for the past 3 years.
Uh-huh.
Had no quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
His wide receivers could not stay healthy.
Unfortunately.
They would get blown out, so
Yes, they would.
they couldn't use him to run the ball. And they never won football games. But guess
Mm-hmm.
what? He is still one of the top running backs in the NFL.
Exactly. And what team might that be?
The Cincinnati Bengals.
Good luck, Joe Burrow. Next pick after Joe Mixon.
I will say, though, he looks good.
He does look good.
It
Next
handsome
pick after
man.
Joe Mixon. The man himself. The one who always falls forward. Alvin Kamara. Now, to be fair, all these running backs after Joe Mixon, you could have had an argument that Leonard Fournette was by far better than. However, look how it works out now. Alvin Kamara, beast, monster, my lord, what a guy. After Alvin Kamara, Kareem Hunt.
Move on.
Off the field issues
Just
aside,
Move on.
off the field issues aside, he is a phenomenal football player. But as a human being, iffy. Next pick, James Conner. We talked about this before. I hope he can stay healthy because when he's on the field, he doesn't use his legs. He uses his back muscles to run. My lord, he's insane.
They're bigger than my head.
They're bigger than my whole body. Next pick, Tariq Cohen.
Who?
Tariq Cohen is one of the most dynamic players in the NFL, in my opinion.
He's a Darren Sproles.
He's insane. Yeah.
He's Darren Sproles. Like he even though he's super small,
Yeah.
that he uses that to his advantage.
Yeah.
And I don't think Chicago knows how to use him.
I don't think so either.
So if he went to Philly, I'm all for Tariq Cohen.
yeah.
I think Tariq
Same.
Cohen would do great things in Philadelphia, in New Orleans. Like they know how to use a Darren Sproles.
Mm-hmm.
So Tariq Cohen could be a really gadget player,
Yeah, he really can.
and I think he deserves more credit.
He does. The list doesn't get any easier. Let's. After Tariq Cohen, Marlon Mack. Marlon Mack, the first season, 2018, didn't do a lot. Decent. Okay. Average. Towards the second half of last season, he popped off. He showed what he is made of. He is, hands down, in my opinion. Look, Jonathan Taylor, I love you. You were one of my favorite running backs coming out of this 2020 draft. But sorry, buddy, you got to sit behind. Marlon Mack, it's his position. Beat him. I like Marlon Mack personally a lot. And then we got a local boy, Lutz, for the next pick. This man got 19 touchdowns last season. 19. Would you like to say his name?
That is the good old UTEP minor.
Oh.
Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones at the 182nd pick.
Steal.
Steal.
Oh my
Absolute
god.
steal. Hey, you know what though? You think Packers fans would like to go back to this draft? Because they did shit this draft, I'll tell you what, brother. Sorry, that's my opinion. And then
they probably have one of the best running backs in the league, so I don't think they're doing too bad.
Yeah, but
How bad was it?
Should we get a weapon for Aaron Rodgers?
No.
No. You're wrong on this one. Should we get a weapon for Aaron Rodgers, as they should have, because Devontae Adams is the only weapon they have, or should we get a backup? Why is this higher? Why is this higher? Why? I don't know. Whatever.
I mean, defensively they improved, and I like their receivers. I don't think they're that bad.
Next pick, Chris Carson. Chris Carson has really shown.
Finally, Seattle has a running game.
Yeah, finally. Seattle. And Chris Carson's a good running back, man. I like him.
I like Chris Carson a lot.
And then just to add a little extra salt on the wound for those Jacksonville fans, Even an undrafted player is better than Leonard Fournette these past couple seasons. Austin Eckler.
Jesus.
Man can play. 2017 draft, when it comes to the running back class, was a monster year. So it's very unfortunate that Jacksonville had to go through the only running back that busted. So
I don't even think you consider him a bust yet.
I mean, yeah, that's a fair point. But at least it just didn't work out to what they thought. And I mean, to a certain extent, it's not his fault. I mean, he can't really control an injury, but yeah, it's rough.
That draft is a perfect argument. And there's some, like, of course, Chris McCaffrey and Kamara, but like a lot of those other names, like, you don't need a stud at running back.
No, you don't.
Like, you can go into the 4th or 5th round and get a efficient running back who's not gonna lead the league in rushing. That's not gonna be an Ezekiel Elliott or or Todd Gurley level, coming out of college. But he gets the job done.
Yeah.
Like, how nice is it to have an Austin Eckler or a Phillip Lindsay type of running back?
Or a Marlon Mack type.
Or a Marlon Mack. Like, you don't need... It's the perfect example, because I thought that the Patriots, when they beat the Rams in the Super Bowl with Sony Michel, who came at a really good program, but he wasn't the level of Todd Gurley or Ezekiel Elliott, Le'Veon Bell. He was just doing his job. Like, he did enough, and he had really good stats, but nothing Pro Bowl-wise to really shock people. Yet he got the job done, and I feel like that's a really good way of, like, looking at it. It's like, you don't need the best. You don't ever need the best. And some of them work out to where they become the best. Like Aaron Jones, like, I thought he was a great player coming out of UTEP, but I don't think anybody in El Paso, nobody in the NFL was going to be like, that guy's going to lead the league in touchdowns next season. Like, no.
That guy was close to breaking the running back touchdown record. Are you serious?
The fucking Packers had him 3rd on the depth chart. Like, it was Ty Montgomery, who wasn't even a running back.
He wasn't.
Then Jamal Williams, who is great. I love the guy. And then they had Aaron Jones because of the first season. He had those issues off the field. He worked those things out. He was productive, but it was just a cluster fuck of a season for the Packers offensively. They just didn't know what to do, and they had a fucking wide receiver as the running back, which was stupid. And then they finally figured out, like, hey, maybe this Aaron Jones guy is actually pretty good. Like, oh, who would have thunk it, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, now he's probably the most underrated running back in the league, in my opinion.
Second underrated running back in the league.
Joe Mixon?
Yeah.
I say Aaron Jones.
Fair enough.
They're 1 and 2.
Yeah.
They're 1 and 2.
Well, look, man. All I'm saying is, Leonard Fournette, he still has the gas. Now, I guess because we're getting kind of high on time. Where do you think he's landing? You know he's landing somewhere.
If the Falcons never got Gurley,
it would have been there.
He would have been there. I didn't think it was a good move for the Falcons to get Gurley, because I mean, you go from Devontae Freeman, who was getting up there in age, and he wasn't dipping in productivity. He just wasn't getting the same stats as he was getting with Tevin Coleman by his side, and the offense just wasn't as high octane as it used to be.
Yeah.
To go from that to a Todd Gurley who has had his issues with injuries and is no longer a part of that high octane offense in Los Angeles, just doesn't really make sense for you to be like, okay, let's move on. Yeah. But really not really move on. Like, you're kind of in the same spot. Who really needs a running back? I mean,
I already got the team.
Who is it?
Miami.
Oh, yeah. Doesn't have to move far.
Miami would be in my opinion, the perfect landing spot for Leonard Fournette.
Okay.
Think about it. A young team that has a lot of upside, a lot of potential. A team that signed a bunch of free agents this offseason, and they're looking good. Brian Flores, man can coach. Love him. He shut up all the haters last season in the second half of the season for the Dolphins. Look, man, adding Leonard Fournette, that he still has some juice left in him. He can still play ball. At this point, it's in his fourth year, so he's kind of a veteran now. Why not?
I'm looking at the depth chart for Miami. I mean, they actually made some moves.
Yeah, they did.
Matt Breida, who had a lot of great years in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And Jordan Howard.
Yeah. But let's be real, though. Matt Breida, love him. I love Matt Breida when he was in the 49ers. But
it's tough.
He did get outplayed by Raheem Mostert at the end of the season.
He did.
So, Jordan Howard, who?
Well,
ever since he left Chicago, who?
I didn't think Philadelphia did a very good job of using him. Like, they just didn't know how to utilize him. And you could say that for their wide receivers, too. Well, their wide receivers just had a lot of drop issues. But I felt like they underutilized a lot of their running backs. So I think Jordan Howard is not a, 10-plus touchdown guy or a 1,000-yard rusher. But it's something. Like, he's a good backup.
Yeah. I guess depth-wise, yes.
He has his moments.
But Leonard Fournette, man, he can fit in there. I think it'd be a great move if the Dolphins were to pick him up.
I'm trying to think. I'm going through rosters right now. I mean, Washington needs a fucking running back. You kidding me?
Yeah, they do.
Because Adrian Peterson ain't the answer for the future.
Well, they did draft, what was his name? Antoine Gibson. And apparently,
that's right. Yes.
Apparently, he's been looking really good in training camp.
Well, because what he did at Memphis was unlike what I've seen in any other program. Was he did actually better as a wide receiver, but he's built like a running back. Mm-hmm. But they just fit. They actually built the system around him, where he was their number one guy. No matter what, if it's running or passing, we're going to Gibson. So I thought that if you're going with Adrian Peterson and if Darius Guice could stay healthy, then he could be a wide receiver, and that can kind of figure out the holes in their wide receiver core, because of course it's just McLaurin and then who knows.
Ooh, McLaurin. I love that, man. Love it.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be their number one guy. So I thought it was okay, so Adrian Peterson, Darius Guice, most likely Guice will win that starting job. And then number 2 will be Gibson, but they'll use him in misdirection. He'll be the Deebo Samuel for them. That's what I assumed. And then, of course, Adrian Peterson's literally 50 years old at this point. And Guice could stay healthy. And now he gets in trouble off the field, so I think he's just done. So I think Gibson's a really good player. But if you want some very secure, this is our guy.
Could be Leonard Fournette.
It's Leonard Fournette. I
don't know, man.
I like David Johnson with the Texans. No. Let me see.
No. Rip David Johnson. He fell from grace.
He can go to Chicago.
Yeah, he could go to Chicago.
Because
I think that's what one of my friends was saying. That he can go to Chicago. It would work.
He would. Because, I mean, when Nick Foles was in Philadelphia, wasn't it Jay Ajayi that year before he got injured?
Yes, I believe so.
Because they did really well with Jay Ajayi. So, with Leonard Fournette, I mean, he played with Leonard last year.
Yeah.
I mean,
for a little bit.
He played week 1 and then he came back in week 11, 12. So they got to play together. So maybe that could be a thing.
I don't know, man. I just think that Leonard Fournette still has some gas, and I think teams should sign him. And it's going to be exciting to see where he goes. He's going to be signed somewhere by the end of the week. You know that.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be dumb for him not to get a job. I'd be super surprised.
Yeah.
But you got to think, I was mentioning this, LSU running backs. We need someone to come out of LSU and
break the mold, I guess. I don't know.
Curse that's going on right now. Because Leonard Fournette not really working out. Darius Guice was a terrible project. And then we don't know about Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
We don't know about him. And I've been saying this to all my friends. And look, man, I really don't see Edwards-Helaire doing a lot this season. The only chance that I see him doing something great in Kansas City is if Kansas City decides to, run the ball more, because now Patrick Mahomes has a very small injury that could come back. So maybe they might want to protect them. Maybe they might want to run more, from last year. But if for some whatever reason Andy Reid wants to keep throwing the ball as much as they did, I just don't see it. I really don't see how Helaire will have a good season, in my opinion.
I don't think he'll go over 1,000 yards.
No.
But you got to think about it. Like, they went a whole season without really having a solidified presence on the running back. Yeah, like a really good running attack, because they brought in Shady, and that was nice. But did it really live up to the standards of how it was in Philadelphia with Andy Reid and Shady? No. Damian Williams' only big game was in the Super Bowl, which is nice. Like, you're not gonna complain about that. But if it's between Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Damian Williams, I'm gonna take Helaire, and I think he's more talented. So when it comes down to it,
Damian Williams opted out.
Did he?
Yeah, dude. Edwards-Helaire is the only running back in Kansas City right now.
Leonard Fournette to the Chiefs, then. Fuck it. Fuck it. I mean, at this point, I'll take it.
Yeah.
But
I don't know, man. It should be good. I think it should be good.
It'll be interesting. Get a fresh start.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens. If he gets injured again, all right.
There's a lot of players that they get that second they get that second chance, that fresh restart, and look what happens. It jumpstarts their career again. You never know.
Yeah. I mean, Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, yeah. But Adrian Peterson built diffy. He built different.
He is built different.
Still going at 67 years old. Crazy.
Man is a monster, my lord.
As I'm speaking, he just turned 70.
Oh,
he's that old.
Wow.
Yeah. Still going.
He went from 67 to 70 in less than 25 seconds.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's how long he's been in the league.
Adrian Peterson, we love you.
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah, we love you. We love AP.
I think we should wrap it up.
Let's do it.
We're right at the hour mark. I really think we are. So it's nice.
That's a win for us. We like to talk a lot.
That we do, sir. We do. Okay.
Yes, we do.
Thank you, everybody, for listening and for watching the episode of the Bubble It Sports Podcast. This has been episode 158. If you are on YouTube, make sure to subscribe. We are on 84 subscribers, on our way to 100 subs. We need to get to that before the end of the year for sure, as we cap off 1 year of the Bubble It Sports Podcast, which will be really nice. For those on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, make sure to follow the podcast, share it, because we're close to 1,000 listens on that as well.
That's nice.
Really good, too. And once again, check out Kevin's new podcast, Cryptic Esports, with two eyes.
Make sure 2 eyes.
On YouTube.
Or else you'll get like a bunch of one-eyed imposters.
Yeah, that's true. Let's get him to 20 subs by the end of the week for sure.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Kevin, for joining us once again.
Thank you for having me, man.
You will be back here in literally a day, so I will see you soon. But thank you again for everybody watching and listening, and we'll see you next time on the Bubble It Sports Podcast.
Yeah, hold on. Tell me who's your top 5 quarterbacks right now, dead or alive, huh? And how much do you care about a ring if the best player got carried by the team? Now, would you lose if it been a better draft pick? And do you cuss when your team get their ass kicked? Now, do you